All right, so welcome everyone to Google Forms training. I'm sure a lot of you have at least seen a Google form, but if you would in the chat, just kind of give me an idea of where we're all at. Have you made a form before? Have you only filled one out? Kind of give me an idea of your familiarity with it. While you guys are typing that in, we'll just start with how to get to Google Forms. So the easiest way is if you're in Gmail or your Drive or anything like that, anyone with a Google account, you don't have to have Google Workspace. You can do it from a personal Gmail account too, or if your PTA email is set up as a personal Gmail, you can use that account as well, perfectly fine. You come up here to this hamburger menu to open all of your apps, one of which will be Forms. The other way to do it is just type in forms.google.com and it'll bring you right here to this page. So when you get onto it here, and looks like we've got a really good variety of people who have made them, but most of you have not. So this is exciting. I love teaching newbies. When you come to it, just like all of your other Google products, it's going to start at the beginning. You can either start with a blank template, or you can use the template gallery and kind of get started with something that's already pre-built to kind of help you out if you know what you're already wanting to do. So T-shirt sign up is a pretty easy one for a lot of us trying to put shirt orders together, or at least give an idea of what people want. Event RSVP is pretty much, you can use a form for anything where you're wanting to ask questions for people and keep it all in one place. The alternative is letting people comment on a Facebook post or having people email you, and that can get really messy. It's a lot easier to have people fill out a form, answer the questions, and then that way it's a lot easier to, combine the data, take a look at what you're doing, how you've been, get all the responses from who, timestamps, etc. So we'll kind of hop into it. And we'll start with a blank presentation. And let me go back because I'm on the wrong account. I'll switch over to my admin account. All right, here we go. Now we're going to start with a blank one. So when you come in, there's a few things that you want to do to get started. The first thing you want to do is title it. When you first title something, you can do it right here, or you can do it here at the top. The first time you do it, it will automatically sync them. From that point forward, though, once you change the title, it won't sync them anymore. So if I'm going to say, give me an event, drop me an event or something, some kind of form that you filled out, give me an idea of what kind of form we're going to work on in the chat. Are we going to talk about an event? Are we going to do a survey? Give me an example of what you guys would like to see. Funding request form. Okay. Sponsor. Well, let's start with that one. Sponsor form. So let's say we are a PTA and we are trying to get people to sponsor us. We want to get all of their information. SCC PTA actually has one, because what we're looking for is, we want the sponsor's name. We want their social media links. We want their logos to be able to use, because we want to make sure that we're not searching for them, high quality, etc. So sponsor form is a really good one. Scholarship applications is another great use for it. So we'll hop into these. So you notice I typed it here. As soon as I click out of it, it'll update it up here. Again, this only does it the first time you fill out the title. So if I change my mind, let's say I just started and now all of a sudden I want to change this to survey feedback, or excuse me, feedback survey. I'm going to come back here again. You notice it does not change. So it only does that one time. Just keep that in mind if you feel like you need to change the name of your form, etc. And so that's your title. Super exciting, right? Everybody's ready to do the best forms ever. I know, you guys are awesome. All right, your next thing that you're going to see over here is where it's located. So when you first create a form, it defaults to putting it in your Drive. If you want to, you can put a Google form in a team drive, but there is some disadvantages to that. And I'll get to that a little bit later, but you can put it in a team drive, or you can have all of your folders shared. If it's in a personal drive, you can collect and edit, turn your responses into PDFs. That's actually another class, so I'll touch on that later, but it defaults to your drive. Once it's in your drive, you can share it with people, add editors just like you would any other Google Doc or Google slide. You can start to your favorites if you'd like, and then it automatically saves all the changes as you go, which is what we love about Google Workspace in general. So now let's hop into some of the questions that we can ask. When you are first setting up your form, you want to make sure that your description is very clear, especially if it's for an upcoming event. So if we're looking for sponsors for let's say we're doing something August 31st. So please fill out the below information. Tell them why they're answering it for the upcoming vendor fair, August 31st at 1:00 a.m. because we like to party. So you want to make sure any time, any details, anything like that on why they're submitting the survey, if it is due. So please ensure all, let's just change it. Let's be a little bit more formal. So responses are due by August 15th. Those are the main things that you want to put in here. So you can add a little bit of extra fluff if you want some extra, add some more explanation, or for example, if you're sending this out to your previous members from last year. So like if you're doing a start, stop, continue survey, say, what do we do good? What do we do not so good? How can we improve? You can also include your membership link up here, for example, and say, hey, thanks for being a member last year. You want to do it again, right? So you can put anything you want in here. I would highly recommend bold any important information. So if you can write, I wouldn't write more than a paragraph, because if you're writing more than 2 to 4 sentences, people aren't going to read it. But you can, if you have to put a lot of information in here, you want to bold anything that they really, really, really need to pay attention to. And that's kind of your intro. You can use some of this basic stuff that you can use in Word, Word documents, bold, italics, add some links. If you want to take formatting off, you can do that there. So that's what's going to go into your responses. So now let's hop into questions. To do questions, there's a couple ways to do it. It automatically defaults you to 1. And then if you want to, on the right-hand side here, you can add different types of questions. If you have questions already filled out or you have them in a spreadsheet, you can import them all in. That's awesome as well. You can add titles and descriptions. We can get into advanced ones if we have time, because you can have them go to different pages depending on their responses. I'm not going to get in that just yet, so we'll skip on to it. You can add images to your questions, and this is really great if you're having someone vote, for example, voting on a t-shirt design that they want to do, or voting on best pumpkin for trunk or treat, something like that. You can add your images. You can also add videos. I would be a little careful with this because videos do take up a lot of data, or a lot of memory. So when you're putting in videos, I would limit it to maybe 3 or 4 if they're wanting to pick between different things. So something could be, you could set this up for reflections, and there's actually full reflections training on this. I'm not going to go too deep, but you could potentially use it for judging. So put all your videos in here and have your judges rate the video, etc. And then this is where you can add sections. So I'm going to stop on this real quick. Sections are going to be basically different pages. When you put all of your questions onto a Google form, initially it's going to be all 1 page. So people will answer the questions and just keep scrolling. It's 1 page. Sometimes you may want them to go to different sections depending on their response, and that's what this is for. So yes, absolutely, Saba. I'll get to that in just a second, but yes, you can have them choose more than 1 answer and add descriptions. So if you have different sections, so if you say, for example, your first question is what grade is your child in, and they select kindergarten, you can have them go to a different section titled kindergarten and ask, have a list of the kindergarten teachers, etc. So you can break this up into sections if you need to. And if you ever need any help, you can let me know. So that's your options on the right as far as how to add new questions. As for your options itself, once you start typing a question, Google automatically tries to kind of anticipate what option, what kind of question response or answer type that is going to suit it best. So your options are over here, but when you start typing, so let's say I put name, see, Google has already changed this to short answer because they think, they know that you're asking for someone's name. So that would be a short answer response. If I want to change it and I want to say, tell me a story about your business. So you notice Google has automatically changed it to long answer text. So that means they can put more information in. They can, add a whole list. So Google automatically tries to anticipate that. Now your short answer and paragraph are typically your most simple open-ended questions. These are what you want to use when you're trying to get feedback. What you don't want to use these for is when people have choices, because it is very, very difficult to aggregate data or aggregate data. Aggravating data is also a possibility, but So these are going to be when you're wanting a backstory or you're wanting something that you really like, there's not a choice. So for example, if you're having, let's say you want to talk about Carnival and you want to know what people would like to eat, I would not recommend having that as an open-ended question. What I would recommend is talk to your board about 4 or 5 options and let them use that as a multiple choice. So that way you can have people pretty much vote on which one they want the most to be. So we can switch this to multiple choice. We can change this question to tell me your favorite food. So this is, it gives them the option to select one. Now multiple choice and checkboxes are pretty much the same as far as how you fill them out, what options you can put in. The difference is, of course, with multiple choice, the radial dial, they only get to pick one thing. With checkboxes, they can pick multiple things. Drop down, you'll fill, it is exactly what it sounds. It creates a drop down for people to choose from. You would want to use this if there's a lot of options. Because if I put 3 options here, so let's say burgers, salad, and then pie. So let's say those are our options. At any time when you're making your survey, if you want to see what it's going to look like for the people taking it, you see this eyeball up here. You can click preview, so it'll show you exactly what your form looks like. And if I'm scrolling through this burger, salad, pie, that's totally fine. I don't have a lot of options and I'm going to answer this and then I'm going to submit and I'm going to keep going. If you have a lot of things to choose from, so for example, if you're wanting people to choose a teacher, for example, to, I don't know, vote something on the teacher, if it's a long list of things at the county, for example, whenever we have forms, we have the drop down be the schools because there's 60 schools and you don't want people to just scroll and scroll and scroll. So multiple choice and drop down, you can only pick one. Checkboxes, you can pick multiple. This one, again, will make your data a little bit more difficult to aggregate, but it depends on exactly what you're looking for. So if you are having your, like your annual recruitment, like, hey, tell me what positions you're interested in, that's a great time to use that because you want to know if someone may want to do reflections or they may want to do, you know, treasure, whatever they're anything that they'll be open to, that's when you want to use checkboxes. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. I'm going to assume that it does. If you guys have questions, remember, drop them in the chat. Now, with each question, all question types, and we are going to continue to the rest, you have the option to what Saba had asked earlier is to have a description. So you can put the description again to be anything you want, just like in the beginning, and you can make it bold. So we will be using this to determine a lunch order or whatever. So you can put whatever you want in the description and that's going to help them understand what the question is. Or maybe they need some additional details, etc. If you guys hear that puppy in the background, that is, she is very excited and she loves to get mad at her water bowl. So please ignore her. But yes, so you can put a description underneath each one of them. Your other option for a question, if you'll see here, is response validation. This is better, especially if you're using an open-ended question like short answer. The other options are going to be, so you would use the short answer, but you can validate it such as this. So if I want to say, I want to collect phone numbers, you want to bring it in a certain version. So if I want phone numbers, I'm going to have a response validation that says it has to be a number, or you can require something has to be a text length or an expression, whatever you want it to be, whatever it needs to be. So if you want to make sure you're getting a phone number, you can put it in as number. If you want to have someone do a rating, you can have it, you know, restrict it between 1 and 20, etc. So if I choose numbers, I can force them to put a number that is a whole number. I can ask them if I wanted to, you know, pretty much if I want it to be less than this number, more than that number, like if you're trying to talk about a budget item or how much should be spent, etc., you can put these response validations in. Once you put it in, then it will, if someone puts in something that is not, so for example, if I have this as a number, if someone tries to put text in there, they're not going to be able to do that. So let's say I want it to be a number greater than 1. Preview what that looks like. If I come here and I say that I want a salad or salsa, they're going to get an error. That's what it's going to show them. It's like, no, you can't use that number. It has to be a number greater than 1. That's what your response validation is. And that can help keep your answers a little bit cleaner when you're using open-ended. And then the other option, when we come back to our multiple choice, If you want to, you can also have the option order shuffled. People like to do that if they're making quizzes or trying to have a little fun. It just mixes the options up. That is there available for you as well. And those are your most basic types of questions that you're going to use a lot throughout, throughout the PTA and sending. And these are the most common question types. I'm going to pause right there. What are we thinking so far? Everyone's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. All right, cool. You're creating a volunteer interest form. They can choose more than one role from the checkbox. Can I add a description under each option? That's a good question. There's a couple ways to do that. So if we want to talk about position, right? Position you're interested in. What I have seen some local units do is put the description here. So if I want to say treasurer, you can type it out. So you can say responsible for all the money. I have found that this is not as easy for people to respond to because it can be a very distracting and people have to sit there and read every single thing. So what we have done, I'm actually going to show you because what we did for SDC PTA is we turned it into images. And I did this for my local unit as well. When I did it for my local unit, we had it where the first thing at the top said time commitment. So we did a ranking at that time. So this is a high commitment role like president, treasurer, VP of programs. Then we had low time commitment roles, which are, what for our team at the time was our programs assistant or, so everybody has different time commitments that they can do. We had a grant writer, so that one was like medium time commitment. And then we would put in exactly, when they were needed to be available. So we would put in and specify if you needed to do it remotely. So that's one option, is to kind of give high level of what the availability and time commitment is and put that in there, but you can add these as images. So you can create all of these images so it separates it out a little bit, makes it pop a little bit more, and that way you can have that as your options. So come back over here, and if I wanted to do that, that's where this little button right here is for, is you can add an image for every option. So if I wanted to add an image for treasurer, I can do it here. And let me see, I'm just going to Google some images. So you can upload them directly from your computer. You can take a picture of yourself if you're really wanting to. You can find it online if you know the URL. You can pull photos out of your Google Photos, or if they're stored in your Drive. Or you can just Google them right here. Let's say you want to make an image, but you don't know what you don't have one ready. It's all right here, super easy to use. You can just Google what you're looking for. So treasurer, they're going to have all the money, and then programs, chair, we're going to add a picture for them too. And we're going to search that our programs chair likes to party. All right, so there we go. I'm going to insert that picture. I don't think it saved my money one. Let me do that again. Click insert. All right, so you can add those pictures for people, and then when they go to see it, this is what they'll see. So it can kind of catch people's attention, and again, keep it short, sweet, and to the point. And that is how you can make different options and kind of put those explanations in different versions. You can include a video at the top if you'd like. It can be a little bit more difficult. Yeah, let me see if I can just find the PTA video. Because you're not going to put a video for each option. Well, it's the wrong kind of PTA, but let's just use this video. If you do insert a video, it's going to be for the entire question. So if you want to create a short video explaining all of the roles, and you're going to have to talk really fast because you're only going to have their attention for about 1 to 2 minutes, you can do that as well. So you can attach a video to the entire question and then ask the question. So what role do you want? And then you can change that into a question, put a caption on it, etc. All right. So you can add videos in there to explain it, and then you would put that question afterwards. So these 6 dots right here let you change the order of your question. So if I wanted to explain the role first, scroll up here. So I'm going to say roles, explanations. Again, this is not going to be a question, but you can put it in here. So the roles explanation, and then they can choose all from it. That's also an option as well. And that will look something like this. So they can come watch the video, and then they can come down and choose their option. So you can do that, pictures, or you can People love videos. I don't want you to think don't do videos. It's too time consuming. People love videos, just don't do too much. Again, you want to keep their attention and get them the most critical information up front. Once they say they're interested and they say, okay, yeah, I can do a medium commitment job, and yeah, I can do nights and weekends, so I would be available for these roles. Then you go, you call them, you talk to them, you have conversation. All this is to get their attention, give them the facts, the bare minimum facts they need to know up front to set the expectations clearly. All right, cool. Excellent questions, guys. All right, let's go on to a new type of question. We'll delete this one. So the next type of question is going to be file upload. This could be something like they had an event, like you had a carnival or you had a fair or something like that, and you want families to be able to upload pictures. You can do your survey all at once and say, what did you like at the carnival? What was your favorite vendor? What could be improved, etc. And then please upload any photos that you have. We also did this for collecting our board information because we put those pictures online as too. So, we asked favorite food and then ask them to upload a picture that they would like us to use on their website. So whatever files you want people to upload, this is a question. What it's letting you know right now is when you upload things to your drive. And this was where I was mentioning before, you kind of want to keep forms typically in a personal drive or a Google Workspace drive, but you just don't want to put it in a team drive, because this is where it gets you. If you need to upload any files or you use Form Publisher, which will be a class later, but if you want to let people upload files, it won't work in a team drive. So if you are just asking questions and just getting answers, it doesn't matter, you can put it in a team drive. But if you want someone to upload files, it has to go to your Google Drive. So you don't want to put it in there. So once we've read that, we're going to hit continue. And then it's going to ask what kind of files you want to let people do. So if I am, for example, collecting pictures, send us your photos. Yay. I can allow only specific file types. So if I want to, I can say I only want people to be able to submit images. Or if I'm asking for videos, I only can allow them to submit videos. I can have them submit PDFs and documents, etc. So you can restrict what kind of file types people can use. And then you can restrict how many files they can upload. Depending on what the case is, you can do 5, you can do 10, maximum file size. I would not recommend putting more than 100 megabytes unless you're looking for video. You could go up to 1 gig, but just remember whatever they submit will start taking up space on your drive. Once they submit it, doesn't mean you have to keep it in your drive. You can absolutely delete it later to free up space once you've used it for whatever you need. But you can put these restrictions on here. And you've noticed here that now that I've created this, it says view folder because it's showing me where I am going to be sending those responses. So what it has done, it has created a folder within my drive that says sponsor form, so because that's what we titled it, and the responses from that question. So if we had multiple questions with pictures or files, it would compile it all right here. So it automatically creates that folder in there, and then you can share the folder of the responses without sharing the form itself. That's also an option too. All right, so that is file upload. Any questions on that? All right, cool. So the other thing I'm just going to point out right here is required and not required. Pretty self-explanatory. Do you want to force them to answer the question, or do you want to leave it as optional? So for example, if you're doing your PTA board recruitment, so hey, which position are you interested in? You can have other as an option. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to show, we're going to pretend we're going back to join our team. And we want to know if you want to be the treasurer. Do you want to be the secretary? And now let's say we're not sure. So we're looking for a treasurer, secretary. As an option, you have the ability to add this to any of your checkboxes or your multiple choice. And if you add other, what this is going to do, and again, I caution against using this, this adds an open text form. This means that instead of choosing treasurer or secretary, or choosing that and this, they can type whatever they want in this response. So I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick here. I might want to be the treasurer, or I might want to be in charge of partying. And I submit that. That is how that is going to work if you leave it open-ended. So depending on what you're wanting to do, try to avoid that unless you're looking for a story or you're looking for feedback that's not data that you can aggregate. So that being said, what you can do, especially if you are looking for people to join your team, but they're not sure, you can add this as a, I'm not sure, please contact me. That lets people, because sometimes people, when they see your form, no matter how many times you say that they're not actually signing up when they submit this form, some people still feel like they are, and they may not want to check, click on a specific role, and they may not even want to sign up to be a chair. They just want to help. That is totally fine. You can have this as a final option and say, okay, I'm not sure if I want any of these roles, but I do want to help. Please reach out. That's also an option as well. All right, cool. Any questions so far? We are doing great, guys. Now, the next one, multiple choice grid, you may not use nearly as much as you would the other things, but this would be like something, do you want pizza or do you want calzones? And if you do, what toppings do you want on them? If you'll notice, again, these are very similar to your multiple choice and your check boxes. The same differences apply. Your multiple choice and your multiple choice grid allows you to choose one option on each side, whereas your checkbox grid lets you choose multiple options on both sides. So if we're doing pizza or calzones, do you want pepperonis? Do you want veggies? And I hate pizza and I am sad. So those are our options. Now you have that same option here. Do we want to require a response in both rows? So that is going to look like this. Do you want pizza with pepperoni? And I want my calzones to come with veggies. That means you're going to have to pick one thing for each option. Now, if we come back here and we change it to a checkbox grid, same thing, we have the exact same options, but you notice here we have one thing per column. If I refresh it, now I can choose multiple things. I want my pizza to have pepperoni and vegetables, and I want my calzones to just know that I'm sad. So that similar concept, one option or two options. This is if you want to let people have choices and go back and forth between different things. And then linear scale, this is a fabulous one to use if you're looking for a rating. I always recommend 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. Either way, you want it to be in your top 20%. So if your scale is on a rating of 1 to 5, your net promoter score, which is considered the people that will tell others about you. That means that you did a good job, you did fantastic, you have become story worthy. And that's really where you want a lot of your success to be. So if we had an event, you want to get as many 5s as possible, or if it's on a scale of 10, you want 9s and 10s, because those are the people that are going to tell others you did a good job. Typically after that, it's, you have your people in your middle and then your detractors. So this is a good scale to get a rating for something. So you can have people rate an event. You can have this used as judging at like a chili cook-off, etc. You can have, put pictures. For example, I can put a picture here. I'm going to say chili because we're going to talk about a chili contest. Not quite what I meant, but that's close enough. All right. So I want to say who has the best chilies, or how tasty were these chilies? So now I can do 1 to 5. So 1, I can be like, you call that a chili? That means that it's not very spicy at all. Or if I want it to be number 5, it's like, ow, my face hurts. It is so spicy. You can do 1 to 5, and you don't have to put these labels on here. You can let people do 1 to 5, but I suggest always labeling it because not everyone knows that 5 is the best. Some people can assume 5 is the worst. So you want to make sure that that's clear to everybody answering it, or it can be very confusing and can mess up your data. People don't know what they're doing. So if we have that scale, what that is going to look like is here. How tasty were these? And then I can rate it on a scale of 1 to 5. So like this was not spicy, these were pretty spicy, and you can't label each individual one, but you can let people know what your scale means. All right, perfect. All good here? Yay. All right, let's see. Last option are dates and times. This is, let me delete this photo. Dates are going to be, if you're asking, for example, when is someone's birthday, you can ask what is their preferred meeting date, etc. If you're looking for a specific date, you can choose that as your option because they're going to get a calendar. And again, this helps with your data because you are not allowed to type out. Someone might put August 1st, or someone might type in 8/1. This gives everybody the exact same format and it's going to be pulled in as a date. Time is the same thing. If you have a time that people want to you're asking what time meetings should be held, you can use date and time. Typically, these aren't used as much. And I say that because if you want to have a team meeting, you really don't want people to put every single time that they can think of, right? You want to have options. So if we're trying to get families on when would you attend an event, we want to say, can you do Thursday at 6 o'clock or Friday at 2 o'clock, and have, again, some options for them to choose from. Because if you just let people put any time they want, it's going to be a lot more difficult to kind of understand your responses. But they're still there if you want to use them, so you can have date and time as an option. All right, that is it on questions. Any questions on the questions? And then we're going to get back, we're going to dive into what the form can do once we have responses. Any questions on the questions themselves? Or are you questioning your ability to write questions? It's fine, I'll laugh at my own jokes. All right, now that we have our form set up, let's say that this is what we want to do. I'm going to put another question in here. What is your name? Just again, I'm going to have this be short answer. I'm going to put my scale back just because that was awesome. All right, now we have at least 2 questions. So now we come over to responses. Let's say we've sent it out. We want to know how we did, right? We want to get our answers. So you have a few options when you're getting responses. And the first one is going to default to a summary. This gives you an overview of how everybody's answered. Now, do keep in mind that I have changed this. I've changed these questions since I did that first response. So what I can do is I can delete individual responses. So let's say I did this, I tested the form. The form was not what I wanted. So I went back and I changed my questions. I want to delete all those practice ones. So that way they're not messing up my questions. They're not messing up my summary. This was not what I wanted. So I'm going to delete that response. It's now no longer part of my data. So I'm going to preview my form. If you guys want to, you can come in here and just take a quick sample. I'm going to take 2 minutes. Everybody just come in here and give me a rating. Click on the form right there, fill it out and hit submit. And I'm going to show you, because as we refresh, it's going to show our responses. I'll fill it out myself too, just to make sure we get one. And all right, so as soon as we get responses, you'll notice that this will automatically start signing up. Oh, whoops, it needs permission. My apologies. That's a great thing. When you have Google Workspace, I was going to get to settings in a minute, but I'm going to come there now. When you have Google Workspace, it defaults to having only the people in your organization. So for this, since it's SCCPTA, it's restricting it. You want to turn that off if you're sending it to anyone outside of your team. And for the most part, you will be. If you're using a personal Gmail account, it won't have this option and it won't restrict it. Anyone who has the link to see it will be able to see it and take the quiz. So I'm turning that off. You guys should all now be able to access it and take the quiz real quick. My apologies. So yes, you do want to take that off if you want people to do it. Otherwise, it will restrict it to people in your organization. So for example, we have our monthly board report, that one where it stays restricted on, because we don't need a bunch of people just sending monthly reports to us for funsies, because they might. But you'll notice as people are taking it, it is putting those responses live and we're watching them come in. People are making stuff, you know, they're putting in their names, putting in their ratings, and we're seeing it, it's coming in live, and that's fabulous. So you can copy this chart. This option is here. Let's say if you wanted to do Google Slide, you can link this chart to a Google Slide or Google Doc. And if I wanted to, let's say I want to do a presentation and show the board or show the families at the end of the year how we did, and I want to show them their feedback. I'm just going to delete this. I can paste that chart right in here. And as people take it, it will automatically update it in my slide too. So that's the cool part. If you put this in your presentation, it's going to keep updating it as people continue to make responses. Just super, super fun. Love data. Right. I know I'm such a dork, and that's fine. So that's an option of when you got your data aggregator. Remember I was saying you want to have options people to choose from, because if I put how tasty were these, some people could have put a 10. Some people could have said delicious. I would have had a bunch of words or numbers or responses that would not have been very easy for me to tell whether it was good or not. Now, what is my name? I could list every name in the world and still not capture everybody's name. So this is a good open-ended question, because then people can type it in. And now I can see those responses. So that's the summary view. The question view lets you go through each individual response one at a time. It does not tell you who did it on that particular response. So if I'm scrolling down, I can see I've got 5 that say yummy. I've got 1 that says 4. So you can see individually how it kind of breaks out, and that can be helpful if you've got a lot of responses. But typically you're going to either use summary or individual. So if you have someone who is responding about being interested in your board, you want to go to their individual response, because the aggregate gate is not going to help you. It's going to show you 3 people signed up that they're interested in reflections, but you may not know that Jen signed up to be our party chair. That's where you can come in and see it individually. Now, you'd want their email, their name, etc. You'd have a lot more questions on here, but you can see the individual responses and who rated what. So Saba said it was yummy. Saba loved it. Let's see, Jen loved it. We can say, yep, Uma loved it. Somebody didn't love it. All right, there we go. Lori's going to dare to be different. So you can see the individual responses as well. If you like, you can print responses right from here. The other thing that you can do is link these to a spreadsheet. If you are getting a lot of data and you want to start manipulating it or turning it into charts, etc., you can automatically link it to a sheet. If you have an existing spreadsheet, you can put it there. Typically, you don't. You want to go ahead and create a new spreadsheet to collect all of your responses. It automatically generates it for you. And again, it's putting it in your Google Drive for you. It tells me exactly when everybody said it, tells me the questions and the responses. Now, a word of caution, you want to make sure that your questions are completely done before you link it. And the reason is, if I go in and I change the question on the form to say how tasty were those, any different, it's going to create another column, which is neither here nor there. Maybe it's a question you don't need anymore. You can take a question out and add a new one in. It will still continue to aggregate the data. It'll just make a new column every single time the question changes. So it's a word of caution. I'm not saying don't do it. If you need to add a question, you can. It's just not going, the first people who took it before you've added that question is not going to say, they're not going to have all those responses. So especially if, that's why I say check your spelling. That is what's going to create the rows here in your data. So Google Forms, come to the training if you want to know what you can do with that data once you have it. All right, so next option here, while we're on our responses setting, you can get email notifications for new responses. This, if you are setting it up to find out if people are interested in joining your board, yes, you absolutely want to get email notifications because you want to contact those people. If you're sending a survey out to 600 to 1,000 people, if the survey is going to everyone in your school, 1 to 200 people may be taking that response, and you may not want to get an email notification for every single response. So depending on your form is going to depend on whether you want an email notification or not. If you're sending out something to a huge audience like that and it's not an ongoing thing, typically that's what you're going to put in your description, right? You have to get your response in by such and such time. Then you can come in, close the form, and then go look at all your responses. So if you want an email notification, that is absolutely there. You can select the destination, you can unlink the form, you can download all of your responses into a CSV file if you don't want to link it to a Google Sheet. The difference is going to be as people take response or put responses in, it's automatically going to update your Google form. So I'm going to show you that real quick. I'm going to do this again. I think it was terrible, and I am now the Joker. Yay. And I will come over here. And you notice that it has automatically added my new response. So once you link it to a Google Sheet, every time someone answers, it's going to automatically update your sheet. If you download it in a CSV file, it's one and done. It's going to give you the data as of that particular moment. And as I mentioned, you can always print it. Now, if you have it in a Google form, you can always come here and download it as a CSV file here as well, or download it as a PDF, whatever you'd like to do. That's the key difference. All right, that is everything in responses. Any questions? I'm running out of time and it's so much more to show you. So I'm going to try to talk a little faster. Again, this is recorded. So if anything is confusing, you can always come back later. Let's hop over to settings. So again, you can add point values to your question if you want to make a fun, friendly quiz, like get to know your PTA. And a cute thing to do is look, because I see a lot of PTAs, right? This is what PTA does. Well, send it as a quiz with your family. Like, what does PTA do? And you could put, bake sales or supporting and advocating for our students. See how many parents actually get it right, and you can tell them, you have it where it shows their answers. etc. Now, if you say collect email addresses, so there's a few ways to do this. You can ask for the email in the initial question, or you can put it here. If you put verified, what this means is that someone needs to be logged into Google. Doesn't have to be with your organization, but they have to be logged into a Google account because it's going to prove that their email is real. That's helpful, but I honestly would not use that much because there would be plenty of your families who don't use Gmail. They could use Yahoo Mail or Comcast or whatever their email address is. If it's not run through Google, they're not going to be able to respond to your survey. So I would caution against using that one. Responder input, that just means someone has to put in an email address, but it can be any email address. You can have the option to send them a copy of their responses. You can have it where if they just want it, they can have it if they want it, or you can have it send it to them every single time. If you're doing like a reimbursement request, for example, and you're having them upload copies of their receipts, you can absolutely, that's something I would say, yes, you're getting a copy of it every time. So you have exactly what the treasurer is getting. Do you want to let them edit their responses? You may not, depending on what your form is. And that's where we were earlier. I accidentally restricted the users to STC PTA, so that's why you guys couldn't see it. You can let them take it multiple times, or you can make it where it's one and done. If you do limit it to one response, and it tells you right here, if you limit it to one response, they have to be signed into Google. Some other options down here, you can show them a progress bar if you want. You can shuffle up the order of the questions. This one I do absolutely recommend you update, especially if it's going out to your families, is edit your confirmation message. And this is what people see after they submit their form. So you see here, the default, your response has been recorded. That is very, very boring. So take a moment and update your confirmation message to like, thank you for taking our survey. I can spell that, survey. Please visit us at pta.org and put your website or encourage them to become a member, etc. Put something in there to acknowledge that they have taken your survey. Thank you, you're so amazing, and give them something else to do because we want to keep them looking at information for PTA. Show link to submit another response. So if you limit to one response, notice that automatically turns that off. So if you want to take that link off, it doesn't mean that they can't submit another response. If you take that link off, it just makes it less easy for them. They'll have to go back and go to the original one. But you'll notice it has here submit another response, so that whether you want that link there or not. This one is kind of fun, but use it with caution. If it's, for example, board application, you would not want to let people see the results summary. They don't need to see what other people are applying for. But if you are having people vote on something, for example, what's our favorite pumpkin? When they take the quiz, you can choose whether or not to let people see it. So I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick here. I'm going to do this and I'm going to put, find ball. Oh, forgot email. We turned email on. So I'm going to submit that. And so now that I've submitted, now that I've turned that option on, now I can see what other people have done. So use that with caution, because remember, whoever submits the form will be able to see what everybody does. So if you're asking for emails or phone numbers, any kind of personal information, you do not want to use that option. But if it's something playful and fun, like you're voting on it or voting on funniest teacher photo, etc., something that's not private and you want to let people see it, absolutely, you can turn that on. And also, if you'll notice here, notice now that I added a question, our Google Sheet has added a new column. Yay. Disable autosave, I would not do that because that means if someone starts working on the form and they get timed out, they'll have to start all over. Now, granted, for the most part, you want your surveys to be 5 questions or less. I know that your join our team might be a little bit longer because you need name, email, information, but anything that you're going to send to your families, people are not, you're going to lose people's interest if you go any more than 5 questions. 10 at the absolute most, and that's only if they're single response, click, click, click. If you want people to take time, like I mentioned, start, stop, and continue, tell me what went well, tell me what can be improved, or tell me any new ideas. However you want to phrase it, those are 3 great questions for any survey. And then maybe have a rating scale, something, and then their email, but try to keep your questions minimal to make sure that people are actually filling it out, because as they keep going on questions, they'll either be less sincere, less interested, and sometimes they may not even finish filling it out. So keep them short, keep them sweet. And then the next section goes into default. So pretty much everything that we just went through, you can set those defaults. Do you want all of your questions always required, which you can change as you're making it, but you can change these defaults here. All right, any questions on settings? All right, almost done. Add-ons, and I'm gonna drop the link to this class when we're in Form Publisher. What this does, and there's a whole class on it tomorrow, I believe. As people submit these questions, you can have this spit out PDFs. So if you want to create something, so what we do it for our monthly reports, as they fill out their questions, it creates a PDF of the document and sends it to our secretary, and she attaches it to the minutes. So that is a very useful tool. There's a lot of other add-ons that you can add to forms. So if you want to just go into the add-on store, or if you have questions about that later, email me, show you how to go through them. Customized theme. You want to use this. You want to use this and love this, enjoy this. This is one of my favorite things, is theme. I love branding. You want to use the colors for your PTA. You want something at the top, and come back at questions so you can see it. So you want to make sure that you're using the font that your PTA has chosen as your brand, and you want to have reasonable sizes. I like the defaults. Personally, I wouldn't be changing these unless you really need to, but 24 for the title, 12 and 11. Typically, that's fine. That's easy for people to see. You can change the color of your form itself. You can choose one of these defaults, or you can choose a custom color. If you're not sure what your color is, because every color has a hex code, usually that's something that you would want to know or extract. Canva can show you how to do that. If you're not sure, I can show you later, but you want to put your PTA's color in there. And once you've chosen a color, you can then change the background color. So just keep it with your branding, keep what people can see, and put a header on it. So for headers, you want to use something that that has your PTA logo on it. And sometimes that in and of itself is completely fine. So I'm going to go here. Actually, not here. I'm going to, let's see. All right, that's fine. I'm going to upload one. So I think I have one. I'm just going to pick this one real quick. So you do notice how thin it is. That is, you can go into Canva or create an image, and if you don't remember how old it is or how big it needs to be, so you want to say image size for Google Forms header. So if you ever forget how big your picture needs to be, it's 1600 by 400. And that helps you create or find images that will look good at the top. And if you're in Canva, you can create something that's the exact size that you need, so you don't have to worry about fitting it or squishing it, or like I'm doing right now, like what part do I actually want to show? So I'm going to use this here, but if you create your image at that size, it's perfect. So I'm going to upload this image at the top. And now this is what people will see. So if I click on this, they're going to see our logo at the top, all this, questions, et cetera, et cetera. And that is themes. All right, last few things here. You can make a copy. If you absolutely hate your form and just want to start all over, you can trash it and start over. Pre-filled links can be used if, like this, for example, with classes, if I want to do a pre-filled link, that means I'm automatically putting some emails in there for them. So if you have a class, for example, that you're teaching, I could pre-fill out the survey to say, put in your teacher's name, and I could have it pre-filled to have my name already in there, because the odds of somebody who hasn't met me before going to remember my name at the end of a class, not particularly high. So pre-filled link is just that. It's the exact version of your form with some of the information pre-filled out. If you want to add collaborators, you can do this just like you would with any other Google program. You can let people see it. So I can add Shelly on here. I can either let her edit my form, and I can put a time restriction on that. So I can send it to you on my entire board and say, edit, make any changes that you want, but it has to be done by Friday, and then I can lock it after that. So those are your options as far as sharing. And then, as I mentioned before, you can get add-ons. Script editor is a little bit more advanced. I'm not going to go into that one today, but if you ever do feel fancy and want to write some HTML, hit me up. We'll have some fun. But here are lots of apps that you can add to it. Form publishers that we'll get into later, but there's lots of them here. There's plenty of free ones. You can see the ratings, etc. Lots of different things you can do to enhance your forms if you're feeling fancy. And then I think that's pretty much it. The last thing, of course, once everything's done, is to send it. So you have several different ways. You can copy and paste your email address. If you have a list here, you can just paste it right in here and have it sent to them. You can embed this in other things. So like you can get the link to just send the link and send it out. This is what most people do. I highly recommend clicking on the shortened URL because it's less to copy paste. So if you're sharing this, Instagram's the only exception where people can't click on the link, but if you're sharing this on Facebook or Twitter, it's super easy to just share this link right here and shorten the URL. If you're logged in to your Facebook and Twitter through this Gmail, you can do it here as well. If you want to, you can embed it on a website and then just copy paste. So if you have a website editor and they're asking for HTML, it's all written right here for you. This is easy, just copy and paste it and you can embed your form into your website. So as people go to your website, they can just click on it and take the survey right there. They don't have to open it up separately. Or you can just have a button that goes to the link that you had earlier. If you do email them directly in here, you can change the subject and include the form in the email, etc. And that is everything. All right, cool. We have 7 minutes left. Give me all your questions, your feedback. What do you think? What was your favorite part? Or is everybody super traumatized and all that? How did I get to themes? Excellent question. You see this little palette right up here? Looks like a little artist palette. It is right here. You hit theme and then you can change your text, change your image, your colors, and your background. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.